Hello, hello, hello. This is Adewale, and welcome to today's live, where we'll be looking at the top five AI content frameworks that help to push my articles to rank number one in the Google search engines. And who is this live for? So, if you ask, I've been having difficulties with your website, and you found that despite all your heavy duty efforts to make your sites do well, and perhaps maybe your sites have actually been ranking before, and all of a sudden everything's just dropping overnight. So many people over the last few months have been finding that Google has just been either de-indexing them, their websites, or causing their ranks to drop heavily. And so it can be quite exhausting because you're thinking that no matter how much effort you're putting into this, it almost seems like it's a losing game all the time. You learn one thing new, and before long, that seems to be the old news, and Google is now penalizing people for that same strategy. And then you learn something else, then eventually Google starts penalizing you for that strategy, and it feels like a never-ending story with this problem with Google. But I have a question. Have people often think or just wondered why this problem exists in the first place? So why does this problem exist in the first place? Over my course of experience with working online and writing articles, I noticed that there tends to be three core issues why this problem exists for many people. So the first one is the gap between the industry jargon and the language our customers use. And as an example, I'll give you an experience. So when I first started getting into the world of writing articles online, I had a bit of a struggle. And the struggle was that whilst working, for those who don't know, I'm a psychotherapist. And so, whilst working in my job as a psychotherapist, I would treat someone with depression and they will recover. I would treat someone with anxiety, they'll recover. I would treat someone with OCD, even personality disorder, and they'll have a huge amount of recovery in their experience. And so, I wanted to take what I had learned and what was working on offline with my clients in the NHS. I wanted to take it and share with people online. Right. And so I would write all these really, really in-depth articles showing the solutions to what has helped my clients, and nothing but crickets. Nobody's interested. Um, why are they not interested? I realized that the reason they're not interested is because nobody knew what I was talking about. And why didn't they know what I was talking about? It's not like people are silly or stupid, but because I was using language that I use with my clients on offline, and didn't realize that I had actually been indoctrinated by my niche, the niche I work in, psychotherapy, so that when I'm talking to people offline, I'm using terms, sentences, phrases that match with what we will talk about. So if I was speaking to another psychotherapist and I mentioned something, they know exactly what I'm saying. And so this is something that exists in all different fields. There's always a jargon, industry jargon, and you don't realize it that you're using industry jargon to write in your articles. And this is one of the reasons why I got into SEO in the first place, because whilst I was writing good content, nobody could understand. Nobody was being attracted to the content um, automatically by Google. Nobody was. There was no sort of organic traffic. That's what I'm looking for. Organic traffic from Google. The only traffic I was getting was people that I was sort of advertising the articles to, and those who knew me and knew what I could give. Right. So first thing was, okay, let's learn SEO. And in those initial days, SEO actually did quite well. And my article started to kind of soar in the SERPs, and all of a sudden Google started its dancing game, and my site disappeared from everywhere. Right. So what's the problem here? Is the problem that SEO is no longer good? Actually, the problem is that SEO, if you don't recognize the trends that are changing, if you are always focused purely on the SEO principles, you'll always be chasing after Google. And I'll explain why I said that. And that's exactly where we don't want to be. We don't want to be chasing after Google. We want that whatever we do, Google will just naturally find it useful. Um, so, and why is this important? Because you see, artificial intelligence is getting more sophisticated. If you can think of the Google crawler, the algorithm, it's also an AI really. And the better AI gets, the more sophisticated AI gets at recognizing engaging content, the less you will find anything you write to attract Google um, working. And then that sounds a bit of a mix up. But you see, most people are writing directly for search engines, even without realizing that they're doing so. So you have people who would decide that, okay, I understand that I have to engage my client, but if I just purely focus on engaging my client, um, Google won't know what I'm writing. So I have to write using keywords that Google acknowledges as useful, and try and somehow make sure that I'm maintaining an engaging article anyway, whilst I am obeying these SEO principles that it seems Google wants. The problem with that is no matter how good you try, no matter how good you are, um how hard you try, if you follow this process, you will always be writing for the search engines to a degree, to one degree or the other. And why is that a problem? Maybe 10 years ago, if you did that, um, the search engines still valued your content because it didn't seem like it was just for the search engines. But the better the search engines get over the years, the more they notice what seems written for search engines, and the more they're going to sort of penalize your site if you feel like it's written for the search engine. And I know what people are thinking now. People are actually thinking that, but I'm actually trying my best to not write for the search engines. But the problem is that if you were to follow this protocol, go to the first 10 pages of Google um, for the keyword you want to write for, and pick up all the H1s, H2s, H3s of those articles in the first 10 pages, and then write your own version of that article. If you are doing that, you are writing for the search engines. And why is that a problem? You see, now that, especially if you use that concept and you use it in even for AI, you will still be writing for the search engines because AI is a pattern, it follows a lot of patterns, understands a lot of patterns because it's been trained with a lot of patterns. So if you are now using headlines, H3 headlines, H2 headlines, H1 headlines that are for patterns, that has patterns of those first 10 pages, what's going to happen is Google will still, sorry, the AIs that you used to write will start to copy themes, copy concepts, and so there'll be some sameness with the content that you have copied those H1s, H2s, H3 headlines from. I'm hoping people understand what I'm explaining there. So essentially, what we're saying here, I'm going to be showing you in this video exactly the way you should think, and I'll be sharing certain frameworks that you can use that would avoid a lot of the traps that we're talking about here. I'm going to be sharing particularly 5 frameworks that I've found and I've been using and has actually enabled my websites to climb in the search engine, and quite a lot of my pages are actually on in page 1, and a lot of my pages are on actually number 1 of those search terms. So I'm going to show you how to achieve this and how to actually um, we can say pull it off for yourself and for your sites. Okay, so what's the solution? If what we're saying so far is that the old way of doing SEO is not working anymore, what's the solution? Okay, so the solution is this: to combine the old and the new. And what do I mean? So if you've been in the online world or in the writing world for a long time, they've always been talking about storytellings. So doing storytelling and using explanations. So this is the old way, and why are we talking about the old way? Because these for centuries, these are the processes, these are the systems that we've used for telling stories for centuries, for explaining things, for communicating across concepts. These are the systems we've used for decades. So sort of inbuilt in the way we humans think and the way we humans experience things. If you were to listen to a speech and you heard a loud clap after the speech, it's highly likely that the format has been followed. The storytelling explanation technique telling formats have been followed. I've picked this particular three books: Made to Stick by Danny Heath, Resonate by Nancy Duarte, and The Art of Explanations by Lee Lefevre. Because and in the early days when I was learning to write, I found that whenever I followed principles from these 3 books, I was able to really engage whatever audience I was writing for, whether I was doing an online written content or I was actually on stage talking to people. Um, Whenever I use the principles from these books, it really, really helped to pull people's interest. And what's the idea here? The idea really here is that the stories, the explanations, the content that pulls exists in contours. There's a contour with it. And if you find it with everything, anything that's interesting and maintains interest has to have a sort of contour. Think about songs. The songs you like, if you listen to a music, um, the music itself is telling a story from the beginning to an end. The way the instrumentations are being made, um, it starts off very simply. It gets to kind of crescendo, creates a lot of energy, comes down, comes to a soft emotional part. There's a contour happening, and that contour helps to maintain interest, helps to maintain understanding. Sorry, help to maintain and keep people going and wanting more. So these books talk about different kind of systems that help you to maintain this sort of contour that engages a person and keeps a person interested. So, for example, with Made to Stick, they talk about starting off simple. Start off with something simple, using analogies, surprising people. So if we were to start with something that made a person feel surprised, um, they're wanting to resolve that surprise because they're trying to understand something. Let's say you never knew about that famous Will Smith slap, and somebody told you, "Did you know that Will Smith slapped this guy on the stage?" And you heard that story. immediately they catch your attention, that you'll be surprised by that. You want to sort of resolve that let's say resolve that slap, resolve that surprise, and that keeps you wanting to hear more. Or you could use a story. So let's say like that story I just gave about that Will Smith. It started with a lot of energy. Um, and so if you take a story and start at the maximum energy position of the story, engages a person. And so there are different types of contours that we need to sort of follow to engage a person. And that's the something that we've always known from history. Listen to any speech that has been famous. There's a contour, there's a system, there's a pattern that has been followed. Think about what happens in pulpits with pastors, um, with imams, any important speaker, um, even the king's speeches. All these things, there's a contour going on, and so somehow the content has to maintain that kind of a contour to start off with, right? So that's the old. Now this is the new that we're going to talk about now. So the new is now combining those traditional methods with modern AI. And how do we do this? We have to think about how AI works in the first place. So, for example, we now know that AI is able to think like human beings. In fact, AI now starts to understand better what a human finds intriguing. And because AI understands this, if you are able to tap into the AI to get the content at the level that remains intriguing, combining it with the old method we talked about before, now you got gold. And I'm serious, you got gold. I'm going to show you some evidence of what I'm talking about so that I'm not just, you don't think I'm just talking out of thin air. All right, so, and what's so important as well is that the AI now, because of how they were trained, they all understand SEO naturally. So you don't actually have to do a lot of those SEO processes anymore. In other words, the most SEO you need to do is to just think, okay, what is my main title? What's my title? What's the title I'm going for? Do some SEO work to just get your title and leave the rest to AI. And I'll show you what I mean and how to kind of do this. Do that and leave the rest to AI. Because if you don't leave the rest to AI and try to work your own SEO keywords and everything into the system, you're going to naturally be writing for the search engines. And then eventually Google will start to de-index you. Eventually Google will start to pull your articles down. Why? Because you start to become part of the sea of sameness that is online. Think about it. If everybody is doing the same process, find the first 10 best articles online, mimic the structure, copy the headlines, maybe create different headlines for yourself, but still similar headlines. You are all telling the same stories, but in different ways. So all of a sudden, the whole website's internet just gets full of all these articles that have the same sameness around it. Eventually, then Google's AI starts to notice that, and what does it do? Oh no, I want something more fresh. So it chooses the best out of the content that seems like they have the same theme and throws the rest away. Unfortunately, your site just becomes part of the ones that gets thrown away because of this problem, right? So we want to use AI to get AI to do the SEO. And why can AI do the SEO? Because of the way AI has been trained, AI knows the words your customers are using. You know, I said earlier on where I had this problem where I was using words from my jargon, from industry jargon. AI knows the industry jargon. AI knows how your customers describe their problems as well. So if you allow AI to do the SEO and you find a process where you can do the SEO naturally, then it's golden. all you just have to then do is combine it with that old method of storytelling, and bam, you find your articles on page one of Google. Again, I say I'm going to show you real life examples of this now. Okay, so why did I say 5 AI content frameworks? I actually have quite a lot of other frameworks that work quite good, but I just picked this 5 because one, they're easy to sort of to understand. They may not be so easy to reproduce because it does take a little bit of work to do that, but they're easy to understand, and then once you understand it, you can actually use it to create the article. So first of all, these AI content frameworks, they ensure that your content is both engaging and ranks high in SEO naturally. Then they enable you to have content that becomes sustainable because because it's just natural and it's answering the questions people want. It's dealing with the need of your customers, and is written in a unique way, and it's not so doesn't have the sameness effect. It becomes more sustainable. Using these frameworks will also help you just naturally avoid any sort of optimization that would naturally happen when you end up writing for search engines. And and what's so important about this is that because you are not so focused on trying to capture Google, and you're writing interestingly for your clients, for your customers, in a very weird way, Google then gets attracted to you, right? But as long as you have the first, so the seed word, the initial one seed word which you use for the heading, as long as you have that correctly chosen using the SEO principles, everything else just falls in line, and Google just finds your content favorable. All right, so before I carry on, I just want to check whether anybody has any questions. I want to say hello to Mohammed and hello to Trevor. Okay, and so if you have any questions with everything I've said so far, if everything makes sense, um, if it's not making sense, just put your questions in the comments, and I will do my best to answer as many questions as possible. Right. So we have looked at how and why the problem occurs in the first place. Okay. So when we're now looking at the AI content frameworks, the 5 AI content frameworks that I found to work very well for my websites and will work very well for your website when you implement it, like I'm going to describe right now. So, but before I go into that, the frameworks itself, there is a crucial secret. There's a crucial secret which makes the frameworks work the way they do, right? So while yes, the frameworks have the story systems baked in, has explanation systems baked in that I mentioned earlier, but there's this thing called latent space activation. Latent space activation. And in other words, you are activating the latent space of the AI. If you do not do this, what you tend to also get is superficial content from the AI. So you need to also activate latent space. We've done a full video tutorial that walks you through this concept of latent space activation, explains how to really understand it, and is available freely in the group. Anybody who would, because I can't go through all of that today, anybody who wants to be able to access that video, just type in the comment box, please send it to me. And what I'll do is I'll send you the link to the group, to the video in the group, and you can go and watch it. It's there for anybody to watch. But what's important about latent space activation is this: you can think of AI as having the thinking like the way we think. So there's the thinking one and thinking two system. Thinking one is the um, immediate knee-jerk reaction type thinking. So like if I throw a ball at you out of the blue, you put your hands up and catch the ball before it hits your face. You don't have to think about that. So that's the thinking one system. But then if I ask you to help me analyze a project, right? You're going to use thinking two system, right? So thinking one system, when you ask AI a question, initially what the AI would do is just answer you with thinking one system. And naturally, it is very shallow and doesn't have good enough content, right? So, but when you use the latent space activation process, you get the AI to go more deeply into the content and into its brain and pull out the depth, which is what you need for writing articles. So yes, it's important to kind of apply latent space activation with the principles I'm going to be sharing with you today to get it to work. So if you want access to that video, just type in the comments. Please send me the link, and I will do. Cool. Right. So just bearing that in mind. Now these are the 5 content frameworks. Framework 1, I call it the Break M Fix M framework. The Break M Fix M framework. And just to kind of show you this framework in action, I'm going to take this sample key phrase. This is the phrase, this is the keyword or the key phrase that I was aiming for. Things people do because of trauma. So stresstherapist.net, this is my website. So this is my website on the first link, first link on Google's first page. Just in case people are thinking, okay, maybe that's because Google is following my history. Let me use a private window and copy that into the private window. So for those who are wondering, why am I using a private window? Google, except you tell Google not to, Google will follow your history, your search history. And if you're someone who's been going to your own website for a long time, for a lot, it will just show you your website for everything. Okay. So this is a private browsing, and you can do this on your computer as well. So just type in things people do because of trauma. You will notice my website is the first page. Right. So this page is using the Break Them Fix Them framework. And earlier this week when I posted this event, someone said, "Oh, it's all well and good being on Google on number 1 on Google's first page, but what if it's just for a keyword that has no traffic?" Right. I'm just going to go back to the normal thing to show you the traffic. So this page has got 36,000 36.7k searches, shares on Facebook. All right. So this is not only working on Google, it's also working on social media. This particular framework that I've shared here, this Break Them Fix Them framework, what's so peculiar about this one is that it's anything you use to write this framework with, if you write it properly, if you follow the process properly, is bound to become viral. It's just the way the framework works. It's just going to make the framework, the content viral. It's just what happens because of the content. And just to show you that this is not a fluke, I'm going to show you another article that follows this framework. Okay, Where is my... So, things people do because of low self-esteem. Let's look for that one. So, things people do because of low self-esteem. This one, my website is not the first, but you will find I'm still on page 1. And going into the page, 4,000 and 4,000.3K, 4,000 search. This is also becoming viral. Again, I'll show you another one, which is following this particular format as well, the 36 positive habits. And what's interesting about the 36 positive habits, here we are on page, the first link on the page 1 of Google. What's interesting about this one is that I actually wrote this one without AI. This one I wrote without AI, but I followed the same principle. The other two that I showed you earlier were purely written by AI, but the same principles were followed where I used the Breakfixm strategy. And again, you can see 8,000 shares. So what I'm saying, what I'm showing you this is that any article you write using the Breakfixm framework is bound to become viral just by the nature of how the framework works. So how does the framework work? I'll show you that now. So the framework is like this. So you start with an agreeable introduction, and the idea here is you want to start the content from a space where you are all agreeing that okay, this is the case. So it may be that you are writing that okay, isn't it true that all children these days, especially in the Western world, have it too easy? Okay. So you may be of the camp that agrees, you may be camp that or doesn't agree. It's already created some drama, right? And then you present a contrarian perspective. And what we my contrarian perspective? So quite often when somebody when somebody comes to you, for example, somebody comes to you for an explanation of something, right? There's often a chance that they will just take what you're saying, but they will not really take it seriously. They will not really take it as something that is important straight off, just because it just feels like common sense, right? But we want to break that pattern where they're thinking, okay, this is just common sense, because once they think that what you're telling them is common sense, you've lost them. So with the contrarian thing, you will present a point that surprises the person because it goes against how they're thinking, first of all, or what they're expecting. And once it goes against what they're expecting, that creates tension in the person. They want to resolve that tension, and then you resolve the tension for them, right? So you start off by creating the tension and then resolving the tension. Let's show you an example from one of those articles I pulled up earlier. So, 14 things people don't realize they do because of low self-esteem. So first of all of this is sort of creating a story that makes people agree, okay, yes, I believe this person knows what they're saying. I can see the sense in what this person is saying. And then I start to break break their expectation. So what we're saying is that these are the things that people do because of low self-esteem. So the first one is always having a philosophical or intellectual conversation. Now the person is thinking, that's that how can that be the case? The person who's always having a philosophical or intellectual conversation, um, why would that be something to do with low self-esteem? It's created a question that the person now needs to resolve, right? So they read the concept, they read the context, and then when they read the resolution, so if I just quickly read that, a casual chat about a movie quickly turns into a debate about the director's philosophical learnings. Your conversations are like impromptu TED talks, leaving others intrigued and overwhelmed. So how is this linked to low self-esteem? So this is now me resolving this. So experiencing criticism or dismissal of personal feelings in the past can lead to a focus of intellectual topics. So if you had somebody in your past, if people have always been dismissing you, they've been making you feel that you are not intelligent, right? Just because of that, you now develop this tendency to use intellectual conversations to show that you are intelligent for yourself and for others. So this becomes a way to divert attention from personal vulnerabilities. And the need to showcase intellect could be an attempt to mask feelings of inadequacy, indicative of low self-esteem. Right. So we broke the expectation by presenting a fact, a statement that makes a person think that can't be true. Can that be true? Is this me? And then it resolves. Now this one here, this is AI. Is AI that actually wrote this whole thing for me using the latent space concept that I explained earlier as well. So for the whole of this article, this is just break them, fix them, break them, fix them, break them, fix them, break them, fix them, break them, fix them. And so right through the whole article is break them, fix them. Why wouldn't it go viral? Because it is wow, surprise, wow, surprise. Oh, that's true. Oh, that makes so much sense. I never thought of it that way. This is what is happening to your reader as they are reading the article. And so, because they think, oh, this is so interesting, what do? They share. And once they share, what happens? Your article goes to the next person and it starts becoming viral. And so, if you are pleasing humans like that, and your first phrase or keyword is something that Google's are also looking for, things people do because they low self-esteem. It's like you got a magical mix now. You got something that's already very, very useful for human beings. And then the search engines now see that whenever they send anybody to this page, what happens? They're staying. And when they stay, they're even going to other pages to see if there's anything more. Right. Okay. I hope that makes sense. You can see how the break and fix them strategy framework is working here. I hope that makes sense. Again, if anything's not making sense, just write in the comments. Please, can you explain any aspects of this? So that's the first strategy, break them, fix them. This is the first framework. Okay. So the second framework is the query quest framework. The query quest framework, right? And I'm going to show you an example of this using this key phrase, projecting trauma on your partner. So also in the first page, again, you could do this search on your system, on your computer, so you can see that I'm just not faking this. So this is a query quest. Now, I'm showing you this one particularly because people may be thinking, oh, maybe he's just showing us articles that have gotten so much good social shares, and because they've gotten so much good social shares, That's why Google has really loved those articles. Now, this is one article that has got 46 shares, doesn't got that much shares, but yet is also still on first page and on the first um, link in Google's first page. So this one is using the query quest framework. And what's the query first framework? I'm going to explain that in now. It's using SEO questions contour. Now, one of the things you notice when you go to Google, this is something that most people know by now. If I type in, um, let's type in that same query, or loving difficult people. So if you go to the bottom, you'll see people also ask questions. Why do we love difficult people? How do you love someone who's difficult? What does Jesus say? How do you live? And sometimes you go to the bottom, very bottom, and you also find all these different questions. These are like so different some of them will be phrasing questions, some of them will just be phrases. But most of the time people also will have the questions. And so what we are doing with the query quest framework is that we are creating contours using questions. So we're using questions, and so the whole format of the whole article is based on those type of questions. So I'm just going to show you this one. So this one is the one I said is sort of using that same framework. So how to stop a projecting past trauma on your partner. Question: what is projection in relationship? Question: how can I identify my triggers in a relationship? Question: what are some common triggers? Now, you may be tricked. You may be perhaps maybe fooled into thinking that these are actually simple questions, but there's a format, there's a formula, there's a system behind the kind of questions that are being chosen for this particular article, and the AI is helping me with that system. Because not every article that will have to have exactly the same type of questions. The questions will vary based on the content and the topic that you're writing on. Right. So this is the framework itself that we use for this. A good example of this framework. So we want to find a highly, so we get the title first, then you want to have a highly relevant definition question, a highly relevant explanation question, a highly relevant comparison question, a highly relevant advanced understanding question, a highly relevant problem solving question, a highly relevant application question. So why are we actually going through these types of questions? Because you see, by the time you've answered all these questions, you've actually fully answered a whole article that flows in a format of a blog post. So if you have a customer who's suffering with a particular problem, you first define the question, you explain the problem, you make comparisons, and sometimes when you're making this comparison between the ways they may have thought about it, the ways people might have thought about it, the different elements within the question, within the topic, and then you go to like advanced understanding question about the topic. Then you problem solve, help them problem solve, and then you give them practical applications. So these are following that same process as well. So what you're doing is then you're just getting AI. You're going to prompt AI with this kind of question. I'm just going to show you quickly how that might look. I'll use this is my own chatbot which uses um an AI that is hosted on my private computer. And because these AIs are now very small, everything can go very fast. So I'm going to just use this and ask a definition question. So if I say, what is people pleasing? That is a definition question. uh, you just understand that this is writing off my computer. So can you see how fast that is? So this is the kind of speed that we can get nowadays on a computer. So this is using um Mistral, the Mistral AI, which is an open source AI. So people pleasing, also known as approval seeking or compliance giving behavior, refers to a tendency for individuals to prioritize others' needs and desires over their own in order to make them happy, right? So that just kind of show you what a definition question is. So you look for a definition question. Let's look for an explanation question, for example. Again, this is simplifying it. We are not activating the LLM's activated latent space yet. But with this, it's just showing you how to think about this question. So an explanation question would be: explain why people pleasing is so hard to overcome. So it's giving you a lot of these reasons why it's hard to overcome: fear, rejection, disapproval, people pleasers, okay, lack of assertiveness, right? Can you see all that content is just given in just that split second, right? Okay, so you write a whole article using this kind of framework, um, questions framework, and as I showed you, that article is ranking number 1 in Google. So that's an example of the query quest framework. So moving on. So the next one is the Gurumap framework. And I'm going to use the phrase dangers of falling for flattery, which is the article I will show you as an example. Again, on page 1, right? So this article is using, again, this is one article. I can see the shares are not that much because I haven't quite shared this one that much. But also showing you that it's not because of the shares that these articles that are working, and not because of the shares that are on page 1. Again, you can actually see that that there are people coming here as well. So it's not like I'm on page 1 for a keyword that has no traffic. So how does this one work? This one is actually a very powerful one. And why is it powerful? It's powerful because when you use it, it actually follows a tutorial, a webinar contour. So you can use this one to actually write a powerful webinar, which then and helps people really get into an understanding of a concept of the problem that you would like to kind of teach. In a way, even this webinar that we're working through somewhat uses a bit of a tutorial type Gurumap formula. So what's the framework? What does the framework look like? Here's a framework. So it starts off with asking the question, why is this topic important? Then moves into a micro story. Notice I've said micro story because we want to just write a story that is very small, not a story that's too long. But this story is not just any story, it's a story that encapsulates the traps and obstacles that tends to occur around the topic that you're talking about. And then you move into generating 3 contrarian lessons. Again, we've talked about contrarian, the idea of kind of shocking people and surprising people. So you get 3 contrarian lessons from the story, and then create a big message out of these 3 lessons. Then we use a weird, you can notice I say weird analogy. Why am I saying weird analogy? Basically, also keeping to this idea of trying to create a shock, a little bit of a shock, but also creating interest. So, for example, weird an analogy could be, let's say you are talking about weight gain, and then you could tell the AI to use the analogy of dog poop. I know that sounds horrible, but dog poo poo. You could say use the analogy of dog poo poo to explain the concept. Yeah. So you got the weird analogy, and then you give a practical strategy. So this is the Gurumap framework. Again, this is like a tutorial framework, can work for webinars as well. And as I said, that article that I shared with you just now, this is following that Gurumap framework. It starts up with a story. Again, the story will start with a bit of a bang. Dan was a man, young 20s, who had just started his first job out of college. His boss, Karen, began to praise him frequently, but he noticed that whenever he received praise from Karen, she would follow it up with a request for him to do something that was outside of his job duties or outside of his comfort zone, right? So that's kind of setting the context, because what we're talking about here is dangers of falling for flattery. So the story creates the context, and then from the story, how flattery can manipulate emotions. This brings in the lessons and the big message. Then the analogy, and then strategy, right? Okay. But again, as we said, all of this AI is what's helping me to sort of write them all out, or following that system, just following this framework. I'm hoping this is all making sense. Again, if it's not if any questions and nothing is making something is not making sense, just please type it in the comments box. And just to mention to anybody who's watching this as a replay, also just type your questions in the comment box. I will come revisit and answer the questions. Again, if you want me to send you the link for the latent space video, also put it in the comments as well. Cool. Right, so going on to the next framework, which is the framework number 4. I call this the power to the AI framework. And when I was thinking of naming this, I was thinking, would I get stoned? Because people are beginning to complain about AI having too much power. Just this week, just today I was listening to a talk where they were talking about there are now autonomous drones that are controlled completely by AI. Autonomous jet engines are completely controlled by AI, and they are deployed to fight for the country. I think they just tested those. Maybe it was this week or last week. They tested the jet engines. The pilot was sitting there just to make sure that there was no problem, and the pilot didn't have to do anything. The AI controlled itself, controlled everything, fought the sort of mimic war that they had. Right, okay. Where am I going? The power to the AI framework. This is not about giving AI power, but this is actually about letting the AI do what it does best for you in sort of writing the article. So that what we're doing is we're letting the AI choose the contours and the micro contours of the article. What does that look like? So the idea here is that you give AI the title, then ask the AI, okay, taking this title into consideration, um, what kind of outline style might work for this? There are a lot of different types of outlines for different types of article types, right? So you might even feed the AI 10 different types and say, okay, from these 10 different types of outlines, what would be best for this article? Then the AI will tell you what it thinks would be the best for the article. Then you then ask the AI, okay, since you've chosen this, now will you write the article for me using that outline? So then it writes write the outline for me using this best article. So you write the outline. And for each section of the outline, you're going to ask the AI again. So, okay, what system, what format of writing will be best for this? Should I use a list post? Should I use a how-to type of article? Should I use a contrarian article type of explanation? So for each section of the content, you're trying to get the AI to tell you what's best to system that's best to use to write that, and then you get it to write it. It tells you what to write. It tells you the type of contours to use, and then it actually writes it for you. So I use this quite a lot, and in fact, if I could go to my app, the silo module in my app. So the idea of the silo is that it's going to write it could write a whole website for you in one go. And the idea would be it's getting the AI to do the conversation itself. So the AI is, so if, let's say for example, I write what can we say? My seed word will be professional microphones. Let's just say we want 10 articles. We're not going to write the whole 10 articles, and let me just put 2 for now. We're not going to write all the articles, but just kind of show you the idea. You could put 1,000 articles here if you want to, if your system is able to get it, and then there's enough keywords for that. And so what the AI would do, it's asking itself, okay, for this, it's created this, and it's saying, okay, for this, what would be the best headline? It's create the headline. Okay, it's asking itself what would be the best outline type. It's decided what the best outline type is. It's now giving me the outline that is going to use. So the outline overview of professional microphone talks about condenser dynamics. Is actually decided to kind of look at the different types of microphone, comparing top ones, and then it goes into writing. It decides each article content. It decides, okay, how it's going to write the introduction and the body. Yeah, it's deciding everything for me, and just like that, before long, it's finished writing this. This particular module will write for each article, to write them about 3,000 words for each article, and 3,000 words, it will write it in roughly about 15 seconds, 15 seconds to 30 seconds, almost like half a minute, I believe, if I'm not wrong. Okay, so that's that though. We won't carry on with that for now. So as we said, oops, so what I'm saying. Okay, so just quickly go back here. An article that I've written using the power of AI framework. I've actually written quite a lot of articles, and a lot of them I've done very well with Google as well. But this is one of them that has done well, and it's on page 1 as well. Rationalizing behaviour of a narcissist. Let's do that Google search. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . Okay, so as you see, I'm on page one, link one as well for this particular search. And this one is actually starting to do well with the shares, 628. So again, I'm showing you that these articles are not just like doing well in search and not having traffic; they are getting traffic as well. Um, so for this article, like I said, okay, I got the AI to do a lot of all the thinking and all the writing, like I've described for you. Cool. Right. So I'm showing you all these examples so you can go and actually start reading through them and see that okay, though it's AI that's written this one, for example, um, it makes real good sense. I mean, it helps that I'm into the psychotherapy field, so I can tell whether the AI is giving me fibs or telling lies. If if you are writing with a niche that you don't quite know, I would suggest that you always have someone who knows the niche very well to still read stuff with you, because whilst the AI are getting a lot better, the occasionally they can still tell a lie. Um, so just kind of be mindful about that. Right. So this is the power to the AI framework. Okay. And so the final framework that we're going to look at today uh, is choose and mix. Right. So what do I mean by choose and mix? This is using the contrarian, is using the power to the AI, is using all of the different frameworks that we have um talked about. In other words, once you understand how all those other frameworks work, nothing says you just stop there. You can mix them all up and create different types of formats. But because they follow the principles of engagement that we have talked about already, they all naturally follow that principle of engagement. Um, they will do well. They will do well with you for on Google, and because we're using AI to follow those principles, to follow those engagement principles, to follow those contours, um, they will do well. Um, so let's look for an example of one article where I just used a mix and match of a lot of these things. Obsessing over unavailable people. Okay, so again, as you can see, my page here is on page one of Google on the first link. Um, yeah, okay. So again, with this one, you can see it starts off with a why question. It talks about understanding attraction. With this one, I actually got the AI to help me come up with these explanations here. Illusion of control, impact of self-esteem, and some of this. There are questions which have sort of changed the head subheadings a little bit. Um, so really why I'm showing you this one is not particularly following any specific of those frameworks that we've talked about. It actually combines them in bits and pieces. So showing you how you can even do that. And the good thing is it still ranks very, very well. Um just seeing Musharib says, sorry, just jumped in. Could I repeat the frameworks, just their titles and glimpses? Okay, I'm just going to just glimpse through the frameworks quickly. Oops. Oops. Okay. So first one, Breakfixm framework, which sort of uses the contrarian contour. The second one, the query quest framework, uses a lot of SEO type questions. The idea here is definition questions, explanation questions, comparison questions, all these types of questions. They're the kind of questions that you also find when you look for people also ask questions. The third one here is the Gurumap framework. This sort of uses a tutorial webinar type of contour, which we looked at here. And then the next one, the power of the AI, the power to the AI framework, which is allowing the AI to choose its contours and its micro contours. And we've explained how we achieve that again. Again, if you're watching this, you can always go back to the beginning and watch the full explanation properly. And the last one is choose and mix, where we're just choosing and mixing from the four frameworks that we have. I do have loads more other frameworks, but these are ones that I kind of return to quite often because they're simple. They get the job done very quickly and get people content that people really want to read. Now, the major weakness, just one major weakness that this all have is that it tends to take a lot of work to actually put them into practice, which is one of the reason why I created my app in the first place. My app, Private LLM, which I showed you earlier. If I can find it. And so the idea of the app is this is the app. So the idea of the app is that it gives you different ways, formats for writing. Is that the right one? Yeah, different types of writing. And the idea here is that the frameworks are baked into this system so that you're not having to think too much of how to do it for yourself. So the frameworks are integrated into the private LLM, so which means it allows you to sort of effortlessly apply the complex storytelling, the all the different nuances that I've just shared with you today. Um, Allows you to be adaptable because as I said before, you might take the same title and place the same title in all of them, and except for the affiliate review because this was specifically for writing affiliate reviews. You place their titles and then like maybe in the silo, in the one-click article, in the course tutorial art writing tab, or using SEO questions, and then you can then choose and mix the content as well and create a different unique flavor of the article. So again, I was saying this is writing purely from your computer, which means you don't have to pay any AI what API token um monthly token. You don't have to pay for any subscriptions. What's interesting is that most of the AI writers that are available, they still sort of force you to either still pay for API keys, keyword tokens. They force you to either subscribe, right? Whereas this one, once you get it, the AI is on your computer, right? And because the AIs are now very small, this particular AI I've been writing with is just about 3.8 gigabytes small. So if you have a 16 gigabyte piece RAM with enough space and a fast CPU, you can be using this AI to write, and you can see how fast it was writing. So, and what I've done as well, I programmed the prompts in a way that it always activates the latent space. This is one of the things I said earlier on. All those frameworks that we talked about will be useless if you still don't activate the latent space. Yes, and I've said that anybody who wants to learn about how to activate latent space, just send me the link, and then I'll send you the link to the video that explains how to activate the latent space of an LLM. So that's private. This is private LLM. Um, and it uses all the things that we've talked about today. But something that some of you may be wondering, because if you've already purchased private LLM, you'll notice that the course and the SEO questions is not in your own copy. So these two are the ones I just added this week. And as you know, like for all of you who have been with me from the start, this I've just been building on top of it. I'm building more and building more. And I'll carry on building more frameworks, more content that you'll be able to use into this. So I'll be releasing this update between tomorrow and the end of this week. But that's also to just mention that for those of you who have not jumped on board, um, once I release that update, the price of private LLM will be going up. At the moment, it's $39.99. Um, Once I release that update, the price will be going up to $49.99. And why is the price going up? This takes a lot of work from me, and as I'm trying to really do this justice so that you can have a private AI that you're using on your own computer without having to pay any more tokens or anything. Um, you want something that you can use to write and write very well. You see how fast it can write. So you can write all the articles you want and not worry about having to pay anymore for the articles you're writing. So the price is going up as soon as the update comes out. So as I said, there's no API tokens payments, no subscription fee, and anybody who purchases will always get any sort of updates for free. So no payments for the additional updates that come. So when I intend, by the time I finish really building this, I intend to be charging like £199. Because I intend it to be a very robust, very intensive application for writing, like anything you want to write as a writer. So eventually it is going to be a very big application. So anything, if you purchase now, anything that gets added to it, you get them all for free. So it contains all the content framework that we've talked about today, and it's made to activate the AI's latent space. So anybody who's interested in buying this, I'm just going to pop the link to buying a private LLM into the comments now. So we suggest that you try purchase it before the price increases. And as you would have noticed if you've been following me, the price has been gradually inching its way up. Here's the link. Inching its way up as I'm adding more and more useful tools to the system. Cool. If there's any questions, I'm looking in the comments. It's like people have said hello. Please send me the link. Please send me the link. Please send me the link. So no questions. In that case, we've reached the end of the presentation, and thank you all for joining, and thank you all for being a wonderful audience. Okay then, so bye for now.